Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So we're taking a little bit of a different approach to this video. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that I recently started posting a lot more of book content to my Instagram, and I kind of changed it up a little bit, changed my username. I post pictures on here that I've been posting, but I still love makeup, so I don't ever want that to be like gone from my channel or gone from my Instagram, so I kind of just combined my loves for both. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing and talking about today. I'm gonna be doing my first like monthly wrap-up video. So this is kind of like a version of like monthly favorites. I probably will still do like monthly favorites where I talk about makeup and like a lot of other my favorite stuff. I really love this makeup look that I did today. If you hear like banging and noises happening in the background, me and Hunter actually moved into our new house over this break that I've taken from YouTube, because as you probably have noticed, I haven't posted in a while. That's because my life has been very busy. We got married, it was amazing, and then we also moved into our new house, which we love, which is why the background's kind of bare right now because we haven't finished decorating. But this isn't going to be like my permanent filming setup. I probably will start filming in front of my bookshelves, which are downstairs. Right now we're working down there. Hunter's doing a lot of work down there. He's been doing a great job. So I figured this video would be kind of like a Q&A, like get to know my new Bookstagram situation. Again, I'm still going to be posting like my normal videos on here of like makeup and of Disney videos, just vlogs and stuff like that. I'm not going to stick to like one specific style of videos. I'm just going to be posting what I want to post. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about where I've been. Obviously the state of the world is still not great. We're still having, quarantine going on a little bit, and then the pandemic obviously is still happening. So I've had a lot more time to read lately, which was one of my goals for this year, is to read a lot more. Originally I had set the goal of, I think you can hear Hunter in the background. But he's downstairs working, so it shouldn't be too bad. I'm sorry if I'm awkward in this video. Like, it's been a while since I've filmed or been in front of a camera at all, so it feels different, even though I should be used to it by now, but obviously here we are. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about, introducing books to my channel and how much I love books, just because it's something I don't talk about it a whole lot, except on my new Bookstagram. I've been able to talk about it a lot more and meet new friends and talk about books on there, so that's been really fun. I'll put my Instagram on here if you want to go follow it. I still post makeup as well. I'm gonna start posting more like makeup looks along with my book reviews and things like that I'll be posting, so just keep an eye out for that. And yeah, so I'm also posting like palettes. Usually I'll post them like with my books. But yeah, I'm still posting makeup stuff if you're more interested in that. If you're not huge book people, then stick around. We'll be posting like vlogs and stuff like that too. So if you are huge book people, stay tuned, because I'm about to finally get to what I've been reading this month, and like rating the books that I have read this month and what I think about them, stuff like that. Actually, wait, before we get to that, I'm going to answer a few questions that I got from you guys on my Instagram, and just talk about me as a reader as well, because I haven't really introduced that yet on my channel. So we're going to talk about that first. So if you are new to my channel and you came over from my Bookstagram, my name is Kayla, formerly Gray, now Costello. I haven't even done like a sit-down video on here since I got married, so that's pretty cool to say. Yeah, I recently got married to Hunter. We've been together almost 5 years. We just got married in May. And we just bought our house in June, which I'm in right now. So we're really excited about renovating that and getting that where we want, and we've had plenty of time to do so, which is awesome. So yeah, then that's kind of just me as a whole. I'm 23, I turned 23 in July. That feels like so long ago, but it's only been a month. This is just the end of August, which is crazy. It feels like this year has been super long, which I'm sure everyone feels that way. But yeah, so that's a little bit of just about me. I have a dog, her name is Lilo. She's not in here right now, but she definitely would be if the door was open. I also have a gaming podcast if you're interested in gaming. I have a lot of different hobbies, but if you're interested in gaming, I have a podcast with my friend and co-host Jerica, where we talk about games and gaming news and stuff like that, and we also have an Instagram, so I'll put both of those here. Another quick shout out is I'm currently doing a giveaway on my Bookstagram which is going on until, I don't remember the exact date, I'm terrible. But yeah, so you should go check that out. I'm giving away to 2 winners something off your Amazon wish list, which if you don't have one, I definitely recommend it if you are into books. But yeah, so I will be giving 2 winners something up to $20 off of their wish list. So whether that's 2 books for $10 or just up to $20 of things, that's what I'm giving away. So really excited about that, just to give back, because I've had such a good time on Bookstagram and just talking about books with people and making new friends. So that's just my like little thank you to people for supporting me. I don't know how, but somehow I almost have 2,000 followers, which was really cool. So yeah, definitely go follow me over there and enter that giveaway, read all the rules and stuff, because there's ways that you can get like extra entries and stuff. And one of those is subscribing to my YouTube. So hello people that I've met from there. Really appreciate you coming over. So yeah, let's get into the questions that I actually got asked from the Bookstagram story that I posted, asking if anybody had any questions for me, since this is my first video. It's not my first video, but it's my first book related video. So are there any genres you don't like? And this is from Peyton. All of these questions actually are from Peyton's pages over on Instagram. So thank you so much for answering. I'll put her Instagram on here so you can go follow her. She posts really cool content as well. So I highly recommend giving her a follow. Are there any genres you don't like? So I hate saying this because I feel like I love so many different genres. I try not to stick to the same books, but I do obviously have ones that I prefer more than others. I would say, if I'm gonna say there's any genre that I don't like, I don't really read a lot of romance. Sometimes I will read books that have romance elements. So like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, okay, one of my favorite books is Ever the Hunted, which is I believe it's YA fantasy, but it's not labeled as a romance, but there's a big like romance plot and the romance elements in that book. But books that are strictly labeled romance, I typically don't like. I used to think I didn't like contemporary, but recently I've gotten really into them. And there's one book on my August wrap-up that is actually contemporary that I'll talk about later. So yeah, I don't try to rule out genres in general, but I will say that romance is something I typically don't go for in books. So like, if it's just labeled a romance in general, I probably won't pick it up unless it gets recommended by somebody who I really trust their reviews. I'm always willing to try something, whether or not I say I don't like the genre or not, but I'm really trying to get more into historical fiction. I do really like what I have read, but I haven't read a whole lot. So if you have any recommendations for that, drop them below. I would love to read more of that genre specifically. And as far as my favorite genres, I definitely love horror, mystery, thriller, suspense, that kind of feel. Like I really love creepy, spooky, scary, like all of that. As you will also probably see from my read books this month. And definitely in the upcoming months, that's how I really want it to be fall like now, and Halloween like now. So definitely during September and October, I'm going to be reading a lot more spooky stuff. So do you have any DNF, which is did not finish books, and what were they and what made you not finish them? So this is very interesting to me because the first one that comes to mind is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. And I loved the show. Like I'm obsessed with it. I cannot wait for the new season to come out. I've watched it. I don't watch many shows as soon as they come out, or as soon as they release, like the day they release. But this show I followed religiously. That's kind of funny. No pun intended. But this show I absolutely adored, and I thought it was amazing and very different. It's like a dystopian type book / show. The show is based off of the book. I don't know what happened. I think I'm gonna pick it back up. I rarely don't finish books, mainly because I feel like I always have to power through because they might get better, or I might end up liking them better as I keep going. So I try to finish every single book that I start, whether that be when I first started or, down the line. But I feel like it's something that I would enjoy. It just didn't capture me from the very beginning. Like the show did. The show definitely did that for me. So let me know if you feel that way about this book as well. It's interesting for sure because of how much I enjoyed the show, but I'm definitely going to pick it back up and try again So I'm not completely ruling it out, but that is one that I didn't finish that comes to mind first. Do you judge a book by its cover? I would like to say no, but honestly, yeah. Like I'm way more inclined to pick up a book that has a pretty cover because it has a pretty cover, even if the plot doesn't interest me. But I will say a lot of my favorite books don't have very interesting covers. So I mean, I try to give all books an equal chance. But I'm not gonna say that I'm not a sucker for a pretty cover, because I am. And I also will say if a book has an ugly cover, it does like turn me off a little bit, but it doesn't mean I won't pick it. Like if the plot's very interesting and the cover's not exciting, I will still get it. Are there any books that have scared you so bad that you have had nightmares, or just scared you in general? That's a good question, probably. The Merciless series by Danielle Vega is scary. I love paranormal books. This one talks a lot about possession, which freaks me out a lot. So I would say that series has genuinely scared me. And also one of my favorite books of all time is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and that really shook me to my core too. So I don't know if that one necessarily made me have nightmares, but that one did definitely scare me, and I think it's a really good book that everyone should read. So yeah. Okay, so that wraps up the questions. If you guys have any more to ask me, just comment down below, or send me a message on Instagram if you have any more questions. Let's get into what I read in the month of August. So I used to be totally against audiobooks. Hear me out. I used to totally be of the mindset that like I have to have the physical book with me. I have to like be looking at the book, reading it, for it to like count as me reading it. But there's this YouTuber that I follow, Noelle Gallagher, which I'm sure if you are into Bookstagram and books in general, you've probably heard of her. I watched one of her videos that I think it was like her top favorite audiobooks, and she talks a lot about how you shouldn't look down on anyone for how they want to intake books. Like I'm reading the same way as I would be if I was reading the physical book. Now I definitely prefer having the physical book, but the thing is, you can read so much more if you listen to audiobooks or read ebooks, because I can listen to it while I'm at work, while I'm working, like just doing tasks, or while I'm driving, just like you would like a podcast or something like that. So I've definitely this month started finally listening to audiobooks, and I never had done that before, and I love reading. So this has definitely added a lot of more time that I can be reading, which is pretty cool. And so I read 3 audiobooks this month, and then I read 3 physical books this month. So 6 books total for this month, which is pretty crazy for me because I normally don't have time to do that at all. So, I mean, a lot of that has to do with the state of the world right now, which gives me a lot more free time. But also, I feel like I've been a lot more active in making sure that I am reading, because it's something that I really enjoy. Which make sure, especially right now, that you're doing things that you enjoy while all this craziness is going on, so you stay sane and that you stay healthy mentally, physically, all that. So the first book that I finished this month was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I had to look up how to pronounce it because I really didn't want to mess it up. But this is based, or no, sorry, the Hulu show is based off of this book. If you've seen the Hulu show with Reese Witherspoon. It's also on Reese's Book Club, which makes a lot of sense. But this book is essentially about, how do I explain this in a way that makes sense? This is a contemporary book, contemporary fiction. It's about this family who's very like picture perfect from the outside, looks like the epitome of like perfect family. Like they have it all together. There is Elena, who has her children, Trip, Moody, Lexi, and Izzy. Sorry, I had to think for a second. And they seem like, you know, they have it all together, that they're this perfect family, but really there are some like deep issues within the family, and with Elena specifically. She strives to like have a plan and a purpose and like have a strict like way of living. And her daughter Izzy really is trying to break that mold, and she's really pushing her to her limits, and you know, testing the waters and being a teenager. Let me read the synopsis, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. In Shaker Heights, a placid, progressive suburb of Cleveland, everything is planned, from the layout of the winding roads to the colors of the houses to the successful lives of its residents. And no one embodies the spirit more than Elena Richardson, whose guiding principle is playing by the rules. So she's a strict rule follower to the T, like cross the T's, dot the I's, like perfectionist. Enter Mia Warren, enigmatic artist and single mother who arrives in this idyllic bubble with her teenage daughter Pearl, in a disregard for the status quo that threatens to upend this carefully ordered community. Suspicious of Mia and her motives, Elena is determined to uncover the secrets in Mia's past, but her obsession will come to unexpected and devastating cost. Yeah, so essentially, enter Mia and her daughter, which is the complete opposite of Elena and her family. They're a little more rough around their edges. They move around a lot. And no spoilers, by the way, especially like if you haven't seen the show. Either way, if you've seen the show, you still need to read this book because it's very different. I think I'm going to do a full in-depth review of the book versus the show because there's some big key differences, like huge. And so with that being said, I think that's what I wish I almost would have read this before I watched it because I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5 because it was a very good story, a very good book. The characters are very interesting. The secrets that you find out about everyone's past is super interesting. The way that the characters interact is really captivating and very interesting. I feel like I've said interesting like 12 times, but you just know what I mean. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth reading. I would say that the show is better, which is weird for me to say because I normally would never say that, and usually the book is always better. But no, the show is actually better in my opinion. It's very good though. Don't misinterpret me by saying that it's bad. It's definitely not. It's just so different from the show that I think it turned me off a little bit. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't my favorite of this month for sure. The next book that I listened to was my first audiobook of the month, which was the Flight Attendant, which I'll put a picture of the art here because obviously I don't have the book. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Chris, and then I'll put his name with the book title, of course. But wow, this is a thriller, suspense, mystery novel that is so good. In this book, you follow Cassie, who is a flight attendant, and this is not a spoiler because this is like the first few pages and it's on the back of the book as a part of the synopsis. But she essentially wakes up next to this man in a bed and he is dead, laying in the bed next to her. And it's all about what unfolds and how she discovers what happened and just the events that unfold after that. And that's all I'm going to say because I feel like thrillers, you really don't want to know too much information going into it because of all the twists. And it has some big twists in this book that I did not see coming. And I love a good thriller and I highly recommend this one. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Like probably one of the best books that I read this month. I would say it's probably number 2. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and the audiobook is really good. I use Libby, which if you have a library card, Libby is free. And this book was quite pleasant to listen to. The narrator is actually the daughter of the author, at least on Libby it is, and she has a great voice and the way that she reads it is really cool. Next up, I have the Red Queen series, which I started. I read Red Queen and then Glass Sword, both of which I did audiobooks on Libby, and they were both amazing. I never read this series, but I heard a lot about it on Bookstagram and on like recommendations from friends that I'd seen. And I believe it's an older series. It's been around for a while. But it is a young adult I believe it's young adult. Actually, I might be wrong. I apologize if I'm wrong, but it's definitely fantasy. And it follows Mare Barrow through her journey. And in quick summary, it's a very vast universe of characters, which I think is really cool. I mean, essentially you follow this kind of dystopian new world that they live in where they're categorized as reds and silvers. I mean, reds are not treated equally as silvers. They're treated as like less than, and the silvers are more of the royalty. And they possess certain powers. They all possess like some superhuman power, whether it's controlling fire, being able to read minds, being able to manipulate people's actions, a wide variety of things. And it's set up as like different classes of of within the Silvers of different families that rule over certain areas. That's a super loose description. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's just kind of like a general overview. So you follow Mare as she kind of like works her way through the challenges of being, she essentially is a pickpocket, and that's how she helps take care of her family. And there's a lot that happens in her world that kind of just like changes the entire dynamic as she becomes involved with the Silvers, and that's all I'm gonna say. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to spoil anything. In case you haven't read it, you definitely should. Like, great series. I rated Red Queen as 4.5 out of 5 stars because it was almost perfect for me. There's just a few things that kept me from doing 5 stars because I saved that for like my best of the best. But I would say Red Queen is 4.5 out of 5, and then Glass Sword, which is the sequel. I don't know exactly how many there is in the series, but there's a good bit of books within the series. Glass Sword I was rate as a 4 out of 5, and these are both by Victoria Aveyard, which is the author of the whole series. But yeah, I would say recommend those for sure. The audiobooks went by super quickly, and it's very fast paced. I would say like if I was reading this physically, I would have gotten through it just as quickly. So if you wanted to pick those up physically as well, they're 100% worth it, especially if you're into fantasy. Next book that I read this month, which is what took me the most time, I believe. I'm surprised it didn't take me longer, but whew, this book is big. I did not know it was going to be this big. This is Midnight Sun, which, if you know me at all, I was the biggest Twilight fan and still am, quite frankly. But I have waited for this for a long time. I read the first couple of chapters when they leaked back in, I believe it was 2007. And she swore she would never finish this book, and wow, am I glad that she did, because this is fantastic. I'm gonna do a full in-depth review of this and do spoilers, but right now I'm not. Besides, I will say that you learn a lot of information that you otherwise wouldn't, like through any of the other books or through the movies. I think it's really just because you're seeing it through, essentially, if you aren't aware, this is the first book, Twilight, through Edward's point of view instead of Bella's, which is a completely unique way that we get to look at Twilight, because you don't really get to see his internal dialogue, which is also very interesting, seeing as how he can read minds. You get to really see everyone's internal dialogue. But this is a 5 out of 5 stars, because not just because I'm a Twilight fan, I am a little biased because I love it so much, but I anticipated it just to be like the exact same story rewritten from his point of view, which I also would have been fine with. But you get a lot more information about certain characters that you didn't know anything about before, and that's all I'm gonna say. But if you're a Twilight fan, 100% read this. Even if you're not, I would definitely probably read the original series first and then read this one. But I really hope that she rewrites all of the books from his point of view, because I think that would be super cool to read, and it's a really cool perspective that you don't get otherwise. So 5 out of 5. And then the last book that I have read this month is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I literally just finished this before starting this video because I wanted to give my thoughts. Wow, this is a wild ride. This is my first book by Ruth Ware, and I've heard a lot of great things about her writing, and now I understand why, because this has made me want to pick up all of her books because it is so good. And I believe it's categorized as a thriller. Thriller, suspense, mystery. I would categorize all of those as this book, because it gives you a lot of twists and turns and a lot of surprise twists, which I did not see coming either. So I just finished this, so it's really hard for me to just think about my rating. I really want to give this 5 out of 5 stars, honestly. I think this is definitely worth it. I think this earns 5, so I'm gonna give it 5. I just finished it, so I had to really contemplate that right now. But definitely, if you love thrillers and mysteries and big plot twist, and honestly, this was scary. It was pretty creepy. I was so anxious reading, especially the last few chapters, because essentially what happens here is you're following our main character, Lenora Shaw. She's kind of like a homebody. She keeps to herself. She doesn't have a lot of friends. And she gets this email from one of her high school best friends that she hasn't talked to in 10 years. So she's 26. She hasn't talked to this other character, Claire, in 10 years, and she gets an email where she gets invited to her hen night, which is, this takes place in England, so I'm assuming that's their version of like a bachelorette party. But again, no spoilers, but like she's confused and she's like, okay, that's cool. Like, why was I invited to this? I haven't talked to you in so long. But they were best friends, and as the story goes on, you get to learn more about what their relationship was like. And it really is insane, the information that you find out and the secrets that you find out. And you find out throughout the book, like the whole time they're hinting at things that you don't know. I think it's very satisfying. The ending is very satisfying. And that's all I'm gonna say. But I definitely think if you enjoy thrillers and mystery plots, like, you will really love this. I really enjoyed it, and I finished it in like 3 days. So it's a pretty short book though. It really makes you not want to put it down, so definitely recommend. So that wraps up my first book related video. Again, I'm going to be posting all different kinds of content, not just book content, but I'm really excited to start introducing this into my channel because I really enjoy reading, and I want to hear you guys' recommendations as well. So if you have any books that I should read based off of my interest, or ones that you think I would really just enjoy in general, regardless of the genre or what I like, definitely leave those down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. And